Hello, it's Andrew. Today we're going to have a look at the milKit Tubeless valve and refill kit. Let's go ahead and open this up and see what we get. Oop, I open the wrong side. Oh. Let's go to the other side. Okay, it looks like we get some stickers, which who doesn't like stickers? We get a warning label that says wear safety glasses, safety first. And then we get the valves. These are 75mm valves because I'm going to install them on my deep section aero wheels. And then there's the syringe, which includes a needle-like thing and a valve, and these must connect up together. And then I assume that this connects to there. And a core removal tool. And so what makes these different from a traditional tubeless valve is that they have a sphincter at the bottom. Let's see if we can focus in on that. No. But you can see that it's closed here, whereas this one clearly has a hole in it. And the idea is that with this is in the wheel, it's really easy to maintain the sealant, because instead of having to take the tire off to check your sealant, both for how much you have in it and how much you have in there and the quality of it, you just insert this through it into the bottom of the wheel, or through the valve into the wheel, where it would be like this, where then you could just, open this valve here and let the tire's pressure push the sealant out into here so you can see how much you have. And that makes it really easy to maintain, or should make it really easy to maintain the sealant level in there. All right, so let's get the weight. So the important thing is to compare them to the stock valves, which are 12 grams. And then let's put that back inside. Let's not forget the cap. So 12 grams as well. So weight neutral, so that's perfect. So we'll get these installed in the wheels and do an update on that, and then check out the riding and maintenance experience of the kit. All right, so I have the old wheel, or old tire in a tube off the front wheel now. Just going to inspect the tape that came on the Reynolds wheel, just to make sure that it's still in reasonable shape. All right, looks fine. And install our milKit adapter or valve. Again, tight, finger tight, but not too tight. Okay. Open up our GP 5000. All right. Install our Schrader to Presta adapter. Fire up the air compressor. So one thing I noticed after letting this sit for a few minutes is that what was finger tight for the valve before, my guess is that the compression from the air had pushed the valve farther in. And then what was finger tight was no longer finger tight. So I was able to move this compression nut more. So that's probably something to check when you first install it, just to make sure that what was finger tight is finger tight again after it's sat for a while with some pressure on it. All right, so it is sealant time, and I have 30 milliliters of sealant here in the milKit. I went with the Muck Off No Puncture. First off, it's CO2 compatible. It gets good reviews, and then also it has little bits of stuff in it that should help, if there is a puncture, it should help seal the hole. So it's not just relying on the sealant part. In order to use the milKit system, you have to get the pressure in the wheel down below 22 psi. So hopefully we can just bleed that with this guy. All right, that looks safe. Then we use the core tool that comes with it to remove the core. When the valve core comes out, we insert our needle down in there. Actually, we need to close this first. It's in there. Hold this just in case there's back pressure. And there is quite a bit. And then insert the sealant. As you can see, it's fighting me. And I'm going to close the valve again, and we're all good. I actually just realized that's not quite 30 because I got a little bit extra. So let's see if we can force a little bit more in there. Okay, close it. Take that out. Put the valve core back in. Get on there. There we go. Tighten that up a little bit. Open the valve. Put that on there. I guess get it up to pressure, and then we'll give it a spin just to move the sealant around. I like to ride front wheel at 75. So we're going to put that in 75 in there. Or 75.5 just to account for some floppus. Sometimes the bleed on that works, sometimes it doesn't. All right, let's test it again. There we go. Close that up. All right, gonna give the wheel a spin. All right, and so I will repeat that process with the rear wheel now. All right, so first ride complete. I'm gonna just check air pressure to see what, if anything, we lost. Ride was about an hour, about just over 20 miles. And I lost a bunch putting it on there. And it says 75. So let's go to the front and see what we got there. Let's put that back up. And hopefully I can get on there without losing air or too much air. All right, here we're at the front. Let's check this one. And hopefully I can get on here without losing air, too much air anyway. I don't usually practice my mounting technique that closely, but more about dismounting without losing too much. All right, so that was pretty good. So 74. So that's actually not too bad, all things considered. But 75.5, I always lose a little bit coming off, which is why I go to 75.5. So it looks like we lost a pound, but some of that could be the attachment here as well, because you do lose some when you connect the valve. So we've seen how easy it is to add sealant using the milKit system, but the primary value of the system is that it makes it really easy to check the sealant level in the tube without taking the tube off. And to do that, you pretty much do the same thing that we did to install the sealant, just to take the tire pressure down below 22 psi. And I'm going to use this tool to do that. All right, that's good enough. So one thing that I have found is that when you are messing with the cores here, it is important to hold on to the valve itself, because sometimes when you're tightening it or loosening it, this bit, the nut here, or the valve spins and then it becomes loose in the wheel, which is obviously less than ideal. I'm going to give this a wipe. Make sure that's tight. Make sure that's closed. And then just insert it in there. Now, you have to be very careful when you do this because it can pop this out the back when it comes out. Here, I'm going to just kind of hold this to the side a little bit so you can see it as I am turning this. And then you can see here it's filling up. Sucking all the sealant out. I'm going to go ahead and close that because I don't want to risk making a giant mess. And so we can kind of see then, oops, let's get this all sucked up in there. We don't want to spill any of that. Interestingly, it seems to not have sealed properly all the way. You hear that? So that I would expect better. But let's check to see how much we still have in here. So I'm going to assume that there's a little bit left inside. We didn't get all of it, but you can see here there's not quite 30. So what I would want to do, let's get my muck off, give it a shake. And then add this back to 30, because there's very little harm in going a little bit over. Make sure that's closed. Close this up so just don't spill that. And then we put it back in. Oh, see, it's starting to dribble out a little bit, which is not what's supposed to happen. But not as horrible as it could be, I guess. But I would expect that to work better. So put that back in, put the core back in. We're going to tighten the core. And then, but also just make sure that hold the core, or hold the valve while I'm tightening the core so that it doesn't spin at all. Okay? Wipe everything up. And I'm going to go over this again with a damp cloth just to make sure that there's no sealant on there. And then bring the tire back up to pressure. Now just kind of give this a good roll to make sure that the sealant is moving everywhere. And we're good. So while that didn't go exactly to plan, it's certainly a lot easier than taking the wheel or the tire off to check the sealant level.
All right, so final thoughts time. So the system does work. It does work the way that it's supposed to, but not quite as easy or as well or as clean as milKit presents it. obviously marketing is marketing, so there is some room there to give them some slide. But I did expect it to work a little bit better, especially when it comes to the leakage when the core is out. They present that in a way that makes it so that you won't get anything that comes back out of there because the bottom of it, the sphincter at the bottom, should seal that out. And clearly it didn't work that way. The other thing is that the starter kit is pretty expensive. It was around $60 for the 75 millimeter valves. But on the other hand, additional valves aren't that crazy in context when it comes to other, high-end or premium valve systems for our tubeless setup, especially when you consider in the functionality of of what milKit provides. So I guess the question is, would I buy it again? And the answer is, yeah, I think so. I think I would, even though it's more expensive than just straight valves. The ease that it provides in adding and maintaining the sealant in the tire without having to unmount it or mess with it at all. Even though it doesn't quite work as easy or as cleanly as they make it out to, I think that there's value there. And I think that value is more than what I paid for the kit. And I think if I were to do another tubeless setup with my other wheels, I would probably get the milKit valves because it's so easy to maintain the sealant in them. Now's the time when I ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel, assuming you found the video useful. If you do have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I'll do the best I can to answer them if I know, or test it if I don't. Thanks for watching. And we can see that it's sucking up. Glad I put the drop cloth down.